Welcome to Blue Grit Radio, the podcast that explores making better cops for a better community. I'm your host, Eric Tung. I've been an active police officer since 2007. We will dive into the aspects of police culture, health and wellness, leadership, and mindset. You'll hear from experts not only from policing, but all industries as they relate to being our best with purpose, passion, and positivity. Join me as we share stories, lessons, and advice so we can all be better for ourselves, our teams, our families, and our communities. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Blue Grit Radio. I wanted to talk a little bit about the almost incidents, the near misses, you may say. Like, this could have been a really bad deal. I'm not talking about mistakes of officers. I'm saying like near misses of like, man, this could have been a bad day for me. You know, I could have gotten hurt, killed, could have gotten shot, could have gotten stabbed, could have gotten struck. A vehicle could have taken a fall, a big spill off this ledge. These are real things, that happen to first responders. And I'll speak as general, specifically for cops. It's what I know best, what I've experienced. And I've had a number of posts following a recent episode where Mark Bouchard interviewed me about some of my critical incidents. And I have shared this before, especially on other podcasts, but talked about how, in my experience, the iconic critical incident being my officer-involved shooting did not cause me nearly the amount of stress, consternation, second-guessing, you could even say self-judgment and shame than my non-shootings. And I've had a lot of responses about that. So I appreciate the feedback. And it's really cool to get that feedback and get permission to share that anonymously, right? Because that just expands additional, I suppose, collaboration and constructive feedback when I can post something like that, and then more people share, and share their own insights and their own experience or reflections from their quote unquote near misses or non-shootings. I do have a story, and it's more in the vein of a near miss, and what I'll call like an almost a bad day being an almost terrible, potentially tragic day, if I'm going to be honest. And it's something that happened at work. And there's a couple reasons for me wanting to tell the story. One is in line with what I've shared about so far in the intro to this episode, which is to say, we can't overthink and beat ourselves up for why something affects us in more ways than others. Another piece is to bring light and awareness to the fact that, hey, when things aren't really, really tragically bad, they have the propensity and the ability to be really bad and weigh us down and get in our heads. And that's okay. I think a lot of the point of, industry leaders in this space, like shout out back to Mark Bouchard, right, is to say like, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be kind of jarred up, and it's also okay to not know how you feel about something and to see and feel that evolve as you go. But to go to the story, it was essentially when I was working K9, and I was trying to get to this thief. And this thief was selling this confirmed stolen jewelry, and it had been stolen in a burglary. So the jewelry store, as they do in pawn shops, sometimes they share out, the photos of the stuff, or they share it out independently. Cops share it out, but basically, this guy was pawning this or trying to sell this stolen jewelry. It was very unique, and he actually provided his ID or some version close to it. I don't remember the circumstances right now, but it was enough information that it got like a near hit. Like he either used that alias before or something, and dispatch was able to find felony warrants for the guy. And so I'm getting there. I'm trying to get there. quickly, but, stealthily, ninja style. And I have a partner getting there as well. And we get there around the same time, and we come into the parking lot from different angles. So the approach was good. It was sound. And then the guy's exiting the store, right? So it's like, it's go time. the it's He's already out. He's on foot. He's going towards his car. And in that moment, I put it in park, and I was gonna try to do a door pop and send Kato, Old Faithful, good old trusty Kato, to take a take. Because he was starting to move. He was seeing me and starting to run towards his car. So, give your warnings, or give my warnings, pop the door, and send Kato. And man, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, you never know, things worked out the way maybe they ought to have, and it all turned out fine. Kato did not make it to the guy in time. The guy got into his car, and he shut the door basically like as Kato was making it there. So I was like, man, so close. And I'm like right on Kato's heels. And so I'm trying to pull the guy's door open, and he's holding it shut. And for whatever reason, like the window's down, it's kind of goofy. And maybe I'll get to this, or maybe I'll get distracted. But giving him commands, telling him to get out of the car, I'm trying to pull the door open. He's shutting it, and he's turning. And he's turning towards the center dash console. And for any experienced cop or, prospective cop, you probably already recognize why this would be, a danger alert. I don't see where his hands are going. I don't know if he's fumbling for his keys or he's fumbling for a weapon. So if running after someone and with your K9, a felon, wasn't enough for the moment, that definitely elevated my status a whole lot. And regardless, he gets the car into drive, and I'd already drawn down on him. I'm right there at his A pillar, right? So for those that don't know, that's the driver's mirror. So that's that post right there in between the windshield and the driver's window. But I have my pistol drawn as I'm trying to yard open the door because his hands already kind of disappeared from view. I didn't know what he was trying to get. And he gets the car into drive, and I'm like, don't you start the car. And he starts the car, and I'm like, don't you drive this car. I'm yelling whatever I'm yelling. I'm sure there's some choice language in there. And he's looking at me, and he's looking around, and then he starts to put in drive. I think he recognized he didn't have that viable of a way to go in reverse. So he had an SUV, and sometimes we get a little tunnel vision until maybe recent years, but yeah, cars can go up and over curbing. So he starts revving the engine, and the car starts hopping up, and for a little bit I'm coming with the car, right? And so everyone listening is probably cringing, especially the cops are like, oh man, do not get attached to that car. But I was trying to do my thing, and the car's moving forward. It starts turning into me, and time slows down, and I had this for as best as I can remember, just this moment of telling myself, don't get sucked into this, dude. This is not the day. And essentially pushing off of the car. And I pushed off the car, stepped back, realizing I don't have to come along with this car right now. I'm not tied up with it, and that's a big no-no. Pushed off, and as I've said before, in circles, my friends telling the story, is I had this kind of thought of, Jesus, take the wheel, and time slowing down, pushing off, and getting some space away from that curb and from that car. And then the car hops up on the curb, it's revving, I hear a big boom, and it starts taking off. There's a lot of sensory overload for that call, because if you remember, and you may be curious, wait, you let your dog out. Where's your dog now? And so the guy is starting to go up on the sidewalk and into the intersection. This is a busy intersection downtown, and it's rush hour. It's like dusk, right? So it's getting dark at this time of year, and he's like navigating, trying to Frogger his SUV through, bumper to bumper, like busy intersection. And guess who else is trying to Frogger navigate into that busy intersection? Good old faithful Kato. Kato Tornado goes following after the car, and he's more like trotting, and his head's up. Like if you can picture like an eager dog, like wanting to get the toy or wanting to get the sleeve or whatever. He's like, its head's up, like towards the driver's window, and I'm just like screaming for him to heel and get back to me, because I'm like, man, I do not need my dog to get hit by a car. He'd already been stabbed. That's here nor there, but he relents his pursuit in his drive, which good on him. That's what he's supposed to have. But then also he's supposed to listen to dad. So he comes back. I'm able to get him in control and get him back in the car. And then I'm in my car and I'm trying to navigate through traffic, and WTF did he go? I'm trying to air the description. I'm trying to like coordinate where people are and see where people might be able to pick him off at some of these major thoroughfares, because he's going northbound, and like where could that lead, and let's get everyone saturated in the area. And I have a lot of response. There's a lot of people coming, but I'm looking for this guy, and I'm looking for a long time. At some point I came back to the scene, and I was looking around, and I see the driver's mirror is on the ground. And so I'm not a reconstructionist by any means, but I look around and I see there's this pole that was in the parking lot, this big like light post, and 2 + 2, I figure out that, man, if I hadn't pushed off of this car, I would have been exactly where that driver's mirror is that's been crunched off, and that pole's dented. Like I would have been in between those things. And so what would my status be? And so I start thinking about that, and I start getting so mad. I start getting pissed. And I'm on a crusade. Like, I'm going to find this guy. Like he's probably dumped the car somewhere. He's probably going to be on foot. We could track him. Like if we have time on our side, like we could do it. And meanwhile, there were additional calls coming in of this darked out SUV, like, it was like silver or white, and all these calls were that it was weaving through traffic, almost hit somebody. Like we had a little bit of a breadcrumb trail to follow, to a major highway going north into our like industrial district. So I thought it was very viable that a neighboring agency could pick it off, or we could kind of set up. And again, like a lot of people do, like you're not going to drive, a hot car that long. You might just pull off and hoof it on foot, and that's like a huge opportunity, right, for K9 track. So before I leave the scene, I also see this, like the whole inner door panel, driver's door panels on the ground of that car. So like in one way I'm like, okay, cool, maybe we can get prints or something, but I mean, we already know who he is. But also I'm like, how did that thing get on the ground? And my best recollection, or my best putting it together, is probably that, as I said, I thought the window was down, and maybe I'd reached inside and was pulling on the door, the inner door handle. You think about how a lot of doors, like you can just unlock the door if you just open or pull on the handle release. And so that's my best guess, is I was pulling so dang hard that I snapped that thing off, and maybe he opened the door and it fell out. Like he opened the door to try to get me to let go or something. It's still kind of a puzzle to me to this day, because with no body cams, I'm like, how did this whole like inner door panel end up on the ground? But I do remember my right hand, which it would have been because I'm left-handed. So as far as like drawing my firearm and then trying to reach and defeat the lock and open the door, like that would have been my right hand. So regardless, my right hand hurt. It was super sore. So I could imagine gripping and ripping that inner door panel off. Like, that could have done it. So I'll take the positive note to myself is like, that's pretty cool if that's how it went down. I mean, it's pretty strange otherwise. So if you have any theories, you can always shoot me a message. If you're listening to this and you think you have it all worked out, like I've thought about it a lot of times, I'm not really sure. And I may never know. But in any case, I was hot and I was on a mission. And so I went driving back out north looking for this car, and I was going and I was going and I was looking and I was flipping around, and just like, I mean, it's like a needle in a haystack, but I was on a mission. And during this, for quite a while, I had somebody like hitting me up, like texting, calling, and I'd look at my phone or I'd hear it and I'd kind of like silence it, and then calling again, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm busy. This is a dude I work with. I'm like, I'm busy. I'm like starting to get perturbed at him. Like, are you not looking for this car too? Come on, man. And then I get an MDC message, right? A computer message pops up. He's like, hey, where you at? And I'm like, so annoyed. Like, I'm looking for this car, man. And then he's like, okay, pull over. Let's car to car. And I'm like, now you can hear it in my sighs and my grunts. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm in the middle of something. So I tell him I'm looking. He's like, okay, when you're done, let me know. And let's car to car. This is the last thing I want to do, man. Like, I feel like, as I'm still super elevated, like my adrenaline's through the roof. I'm like, as we get competitive, and it's like, you tried to get me, I'm going to try to get you. And I don't need anyone to twist that into something. I wanted to arrest this guy, but because he smooshed me almost, and it could have been a really bad freaking day. My dog could have been run the F over. And also, you're a wanted felon with all these warrants. But eventually, I relented and I realized the needle in the haystack situation. And I pull over in one of those North End lots and I hit him up. I'm like, hey, I'm here. And he comes over. I'm like, what do you need, dude? What is it? And he's like, he just wanted to check on me. He was just being a good friend. He could hear it. When you work with somebody enough, no matter how cool, calm, and collected you are, or you try to be before you key up, no matter the big breath that you have, or the battle cry some people do before they key up, in these elevated moments, he wasn't missing anything. I wasn't fooling him. And that's the kind of guy Diego was. It's probably one of the most significant peer support stories for me, because I was on the peer support team for years and years as an officer, and it was, I cared. It was to be friendly, and it was to check in, and certainly I like to think that I've been pretty approachable for most of my career to most of the people I've worked with, and so it's always something I believed in, something I always saw value in. But it wasn't until times like that I look back and I'm like, man, that's the stuff. Because so often, the tie-in back to where this started is, so often we are doing a better job, or we can do a really good job when there's something that's very clearly obvious. What's clearly obvious is when someone's in an officer-involved shooting, and oftentimes people come out of the woodwork. People circle around, support you, check in, like, your phone might be blowing up where you get so many people checking in. Like, and that's a good thing. That's out of care. It's out of true care and support. But sometimes it's the things that aren't so obvious. And I'll say oftentimes it's the things that aren't so obvious. And how would they be? You know, unless you went to the scene and really talked to me quite a bit about it. I mean, you might see the damage of the car and you're like, oh yeah, he took off, he hopped on the curb. Well, and that's like a very normal thing these days. Like, people evade the police, they hop curbs, they hit a couple cars, and we went through a stint where we literally couldn't pursue anyone for very many things. But outside of me telling somebody that I almost got smushed up against a pole, like, that I was literally kind of piecing together as the call's continuing and developing, and as I'm looking for the guy, you're stressed. You're not thinking about this stuff, but it was enough for him who was not at the scene. It was enough for him who did not know what I was thinking and what I had gone through. He did not know that, Kato was in the middle of the intersection. He did not know how it could have been a close call in a lot of ways, but he did know because he could hear it, because he knew me, because he deeply cared. And it was further validated when he was relentless with checking in with me, because he knew. And then that was probably further affirmed when I was like, dude, I can't talk to you. Like, I got to find this car. Like, he probably knew even more so. And then when we got in the same parking lot and I got out of my car and he got out of his car, he could probably see it, right? He could probably see the tension in me. He could probably see and hear the annoyance in my voice and how target fixated I was. And then it became a great talk. And it became a great memory. So I wanted to have this conversation because I know there's a lot of folks that, clearly from posts, but, my agency, other agencies that, they've had really significant calls recently. And so it drummed up this story and this memory and this topic that I wanted to share. And there's been a lot of positive feedback just saying, hey, like, thank you so much for speaking and writing about the almost incidents. Because let's face it, like, we have tons and tons of almost incidents. And it's also just the stuff that maybe you wouldn't even categorize as an almost incident until you realize, like, yeah, no, that could be too. Like, someone's running and then dipping their hands in their pockets. And as you're running, you're drawing down. You're like, man, is this that thing? Is this happening? And it doesn't happen. But the dude might be armed. He might not be armed when you arrest him. And there's all the things that start happening in your brain of like, what could have happened? Man, what if he had turned? Would I've had the proper reaction time? Or would me or my buddy have caught around? What if he's not armed? What if he had pulled out something that looked like a gun, and then here we are in this terrible situation, although justified, but would the public see it? Will the court see it? Like, this is terrifying stuff, and it's very heavy. And so a lot of why I'm having this conversation is just to help us all recognize the impact of this, and to socialize and to share that awareness can be extremely helpful. We got to talk about it. We got to unpack it. There's so many ways to do it. Peer support being a central part of this story is something I truly believe in. No one really understands what we go through like us, because we all go through it. But there's also so many other beneficial outlets. Your communities, your religious organization, your clergy, MHPs, counselors, therapists. It could be anonymous helpline, support line, code 4 Northwest. cop line. There's all these different modes of entry if you're unsure, right? Like you talk to a buddy who's not even a cop, right? You talk to a buddy who is a cop. Like, to different people, one might be more comfortable than the other. You talk to a total stranger, right? You call a line and you don't even say your name or anything, right? It's not even someone in your agency. It's just someone else who's been there that cares. Write it down. Speak to yourself through journal. Write it down. Form your thoughts. Talk to your significant other. You got to talk to them. You got to find a way. It doesn't have to be every little nitty-gritty detail, but they know, they care, right? Talked about the peer support, like ultimate peer support, the person that you build a life with that knows you better than anyone else in this world. They know. So don't keep them away. Don't push them away. And as I try to generally say, be patient. This stuff isn't easy. A lot of times when you make an effort, start diving in, it gets messy. It might be to clean out your closet, you got to drag all that stuff out in the room and onto your bed and start sifting through it until you purge and you donate some stuff, you throw some stuff away, and then you organize it and put it back in. You're like, well, that's like way better. Oh man, I wish I did that a long time ago. But it might be, the metaphor of like, it might be like a couple hours of sifting through that stuff, or the afternoon, or shoot, you're a pack rat. So going with that metaphor, the room is destroyed. It's your guest room and no one's staying here for a while. I'm just going to shut the door. I can't even do this weekend. Like, there's just too much going on, but I'm going to come back. Or maybe, hey, let's follow that metaphor. Maybe I bring my spouse in, my partner in, like, hey, can you help me objectively organize some of these things? Can you help? It's hard for me to look at this big pile. Can we attack it together? Be patient. Be patient with the process. Be patient with yourself. Stay positive. Recognize the huge positivity that you're even entertaining it, that you're even trying, that you're even making a plan, that you're listening to this, you're trying to develop and be the best you can for yourself, for your family, for your team. That's a big freaking deal. And give yourself grace. A lot of times it's one step back before it's two steps forward. So, as always, thanks so much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your feedback. I didn't expect to get emotional with this one. I'm not surprised at all, and I'm not ashamed. I'm still going to air it. But it's one of those things where I could think about that memory 1,000 times in my head and smile and not have, that emotional reaction. But when you say things, for me anyway, sometimes saying things out loud, it just evokes this different thing when I hear my voice say it and have to find the words. So, as always, thank you for listening, for sharing the show. It's all about building more community of support. Thanks for the feedback I've already said in the comments. Like, I don't like making the social media about like likes and shares, or the downloads and subscribing to the podcast. I don't like it for the sake of like, I feel like I'm peddling something, but it does help the algorithms and more people reaching it and finding it. And my goal and a lot of my mission is just to reach more people, because it's all helpful, right? It's all in the vein of being helpful. Same for the show. Give a 5-star review on your favorite listening platform. It all helps. So sincerely, thank you so much. And yeah, thanks, Diego. I appreciate you, man. Miss you. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Blue Grit Radio. As always, support this community by subscribing, giving us a 5-star review, and following, liking, and sharing posts on Blue Grit Wellness on Instagram. You can reach me there or email me at bluegritwellness@gmail.com. Be well and stay gritty.